Everyday stories, captivating tales from everyday life to inspire, entertain, and connect.
It's not just about Grace, Gabriel said, his voice cracking slightly as he turned to face Samantha. He stepped toward her, the penthouse's gleaming marble floors cold beneath his feet. This is about us. This is about the promise we made. To each other. To Grace. I know I've been distant, but I need you here. I need you to help me heal, to help Grace heal. Samantha's gaze flicked up to meet his, but there was no softness in her eyes. She crossed her arms over her chest, a defensive gesture that he had come to recognize all too well. "You can't keep using her like that," she said flatly. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't sign up to be a mother." Gabriel's heart sank at her words. The realization hit him harder than he expected. Samantha wasn't just refusing to help with Grace. She was rejecting everything that had come with being part of his life, with embracing the responsibility of a family. It wasn't just the child she couldn't bear to care for. It was the idea of family itself. "You knew about Grace before we even got married," he said, his voice tightening. "You knew the situation. I lost my first wife. Grace is my daughter, and you knew I couldn't just walk away from her." Samantha's lips pressed together, her face pale and suddenly hardened, as if the mention of Gabriel's late wife, Grace's mother, was a sharp blade that had been thrust into the conversation. She stood up, her chair scraping against the floor, and walked to the window, turning her back on him. "Don't bring her up again, Gabriel. I'm not your late wife. I'm not some saint that can fill the void you've been carrying around. I have my own life, my own needs." Gabriel stared at her, feeling as though the room had grown smaller. The silence between them felt suffocating. Every word, every breath, felt like an attempt to bridge a gap that had already widened beyond repair. "I don't expect you to be her," he said quietly, his voice low, almost defeated. "I just need you to be there for her, for us." He let out a long breath, stepping back and sitting on the couch. "I'm tired, Sam. I'm tired of doing this alone. I thought you'd be the one who would stand by me, help me put the pieces back together. But now, it feels like you don't even care." Samantha turned back toward him, her eyes cold and calculating. "I care about myself, Gabriel," she said, her voice steady, but a touch of bitterness in it. "I've spent years building my own life, my own future. I'm not going to give that up just to play house with your daughter." Gabriel felt a sharp pang in his chest. "Is that how you see it? A game?" He stood up abruptly, his anger flaring. "Grace is not a game. She's not some burden I'm forcing on you. She's a little girl who's been through more than any child should have to. She lost her mother, she's lost her home, and she's trying to find her place in this world." Samantha's expression softened for a moment, just a flicker of guilt, maybe. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "I don't know what you want from me, Gabriel," she said, her voice sharp once more. "I can't keep pretending everything's fine. I can't be the perfect stepmother. I'm not her. I'm me." Gabriel felt the weight of her words settle like a heavy blanket over his chest. Was this really all he could expect from her? He had hoped for so much more, for a partnership, for someone who would help him rebuild the pieces of his shattered world. But now it seemed like she was pulling away. And the more she distanced herself, the more Gabriel felt the creeping loneliness that had haunted him since his first wife's death. "You were never perfect, Sam," he said softly, almost to himself. "But I thought you cared. I thought we could build something together." Her eyes flickered with frustration. "I do care. I just don't know how to do this, how to be what you need me to be. I didn't sign up for this complicated, messy life of yours. I didn't ask for your baggage, your daughter, or the ghost of your first wife hovering over everything." The words stung, but Gabriel knew she was being honest in her own way, even if it wasn't what he wanted to hear. He had hoped that love would be enough to bring them together, to mend the fractures that had appeared over time. But now, Standing here in the cold, sterile light of their penthouse, Gabriel was beginning to realize that love alone might not be enough to fill the emptiness between them. He walked toward the door, his hand resting on the handle, his back to her. "I'm not asking you to replace her, Sam," he said quietly without turning. "I just need you to help me raise Grace. And if that's too much for you, maybe it's time we both admit this isn't working." Silence filled the room, thick and uncomfortable. Gabriel waited for her response, but it never came. The moment stretched on, and for the first time in years, he wondered if he had made the right choice in marrying Samantha.